Hey, welcome back to the Manifestation Method podcast. I'm so glad you're here. Now, whatever you're doing, whether you're on a walk, whether you're doing your dishes, driving to pick up your kids, lying in your bed, procrastinating, whatever it is, you are in the right place. I'm your host, Ayelet, and if this is your first time here, then oh my gosh, welcome to the party. We talk about manifestation here, but like seriously, not in a fluffy, woo-woo, all good vibes and positive thinking kind of way, although that's all good too. But we go so much deeper than just that. Here we blend Kabbalah and Jewish mysticism and neuroscience. Not that I'm a scientist, but I take what inspires me and I share it here. I incorporate psychology, somatic wisdom, all of it. And I do this because I'm obsessed with the topic, obviously, and also because I really truly believe that you deserve a practice that actually works and that is grounded and sourced in both ancient and modern wisdom. Okay, so today's episode, I've been like sitting on this topic for a while in terms of sharing it, but it is something that in my workshops and live events and courses, I share in abundance. But I wanted to give it over in a way that I really feel I could encapsulate a topic that is so big and I could talk on for hours and narrow it down to, a bite-sized bit of information that you can easily digest and deeply relate to, right? I think really this is probably what I'm going to talk about today. The number one reason that people get stuck in their manifestation practice, in their journey of becoming, of actualizing themselves, of inner work and personal development. And oftentimes we don't really know why. What is the blockage that is stopping us from actually quantum leaping into our dream relationship, our dream career, our dream health, our dream life and reality? What is that thing that's blocking us, right? And so that's what I'm going to talk about today. To sum up the idea, and I'll just say it up front here, and then obviously I'll expand on it, is that you cannot change your outside world without first changing who you are in your kishkas, like on a cellular level, right? It's not about your habits changing. It's not about your routine. It's not about making the most epic, stunning, sparkly vision board. The key here is you. It's your identity. It is the story that you are living and breathing from on the deepest level of your beingness. And so this episode, I'm going to break down exactly why this is and how we can actually do something about it. How do we actually alchemize, transform ourselves from the inside out on the level of identity when so many of us are just taught or we believe I am who I am, or it is what it is. And how am I actually going to change? I haven't changed in this many years of life. What makes me think that it's going to happen now? Okay. And so I'm just going to give it to you straight. Change is absolutely possible and can happen so much more quickly than you're letting yourself believe is possible. And so in today's episode, I talk about why the outside-in approach to change almost always fails, right? What do I mean by that? Why thinking that if something changes outside of us, then something in me is going to change? No, that's fail-proof. Okay, and then I'm going to also talk about what's actually happening beneath the surface when we try to force results without doing the inner work first. I'm going to cover the psychological concept of the identity thermostat. And this piece is so real. And once you understand it, you're just never going to look at your habits the same way again. Of course, as always, I'm going to weave in Kabbalistic wisdom. I'm going to talk about the concept of Tselem Elokim, being created in the image of the divine, and what that actually has to do with your capacity to choose who you become. I'll talk about the teaching of Na'aseh v'Nishma, which translates to we will do and we will hear, and extrapolate on why the ancient Israelites were onto something that modern neuroscience is only now today catching up to, right? Ancient wisdom, we're always just catching up to what our ancestors already knew. I'll talk about the embodied dimension of identity shift, why this is not just a mindset thing, right? I used to be called the manifestation mindset for the first couple of years and then realized, wait a minute, this is not just mindset. And that's why we became the method. But so really manifestation is not just a mindset shift. It's that as well, but it's more deeply a body thing, a nervous system thing, a cellular thing. And finally, I'm going to cover the real reason transformation feels like grief and agony sometimes, and why that's not a sign that you're doing it wrong, but actually a sign that you are doing it totally right. So this episode is a juicy one, my friends. Let's dive in. Becoming a co-creator with the creator is your birthright. Together, we'll journey into your deepest authenticity. Because the more you align with who you truly are, the more effortlessly you call in the life that you desire and deserve. And most importantly, the more you step into your soul's highest purpose. Welcome to the Manifestation Method podcast, your #1 source for Kabbalistic manifestation. Here we combine the ancient wisdom of Kabbalah, modern psychology, and quantum physics to help you achieve real, tangible manifestation results with my proven Abra method. I'm Ayelet Polonsky, and I'm here to guide you on your journey of manifesting a life that is aligned, expansive, and deeply connected to your highest self through the sacred energetic mechanics of Kabbalistic manifestation. To learn how to use Kabbalistic manifestation to transform your life from the inside out, go to ayeletpolonsky.com or download the Manifestation Method app. Let's open the gates of manifestation together. Let's start with the thing most of us are actually doing, even when we think we're doing the inner work. What is it that we're actually doing when we think we're doing inner work, right? Because most people approach change from the outside in, right? When that thing outside changes, then I'll be happy, then I'll be content, then I'll be fulfilled, right? When the money comes, then I'll feel rich, right? And I get it. It makes total logical sense from the level of mind, right? You want a different result, so you focus on the results, meaning you want more money, so you start researching ways to make more money, or you want a healthier body, and so you download a meal plan, or you hire a personal trainer, or you want a loving relationship. So what do? You go on all the apps and try to optimize your profile and do the thing, right, that every modern day dater is doing. And I just want to emphasize, none of that is bad. But here's the problem. If the identity has not shifted, meaning if at your core you still feel like someone who struggles with money, or someone who is not actually healthy from the inside, or you feel like you're someone who doesn't deserve love or who doesn't get chosen, right, then all of those external efforts are running on a very shaky and cracked foundation, right? So think of it this way. A metaphor I like to use is, imagine you take a garden hose and you try to push water uphill using sheer force, right? You might be able to do it for a little while, but the moment you stop forcing it, the water flows back down. And so that's willpower without identity change. And that type of willpower without a real inside out identity shift is exhausting. It's temporary. And eventually you'll end up feeling like a failure, when really it was just that the strategy you were using was wrong from the start. And this is why people tend to lose weight, but then they gain it all back, right? It's why people save money and then spend it all, right? Or why we enter a new relationship and recreate the same dynamic over and over again with a different person. It's because the outside changed, but the inside, the operating system, stayed exactly the same. And the secret is the operating system always wins. Okay, and so let me throw in a little science piece because I love when research backs up what we intuitively know. So psychologists talk about something called self-concept. And that is basically the mental and emotional picture that you have of yourself, right? How do I think and feel about me? And what is fascinating is that this self-concept functions almost exactly like imagine a thermostat in your home, right? The thing that takes the temperature. It has a set point, and anytime your life starts to move outside of that set point, right? Whether life gets too good or too bad, your subconscious mind will kick in to regulate you back to what feels normal, right? The nervous system is programmed to bring us back to a state of being that feels within our capacity to control, within what feels familiar. And so it's so interesting because this is why lottery winners, I share this example a lot. Lottery winners, they famously return to their original financial baseline within just a few years of winning the lottery, sometimes sooner, right? And this is why people who have everything going for them can still sometimes feel kind of this like persistent, unexplainable sense of anxiety. It's literally our internal thermostat trying to bring our system back to order. And psychologist Dr. Tara Swart calls this selective filtering. It is your brain literally filtering out evidence that contradicts your existing identity, and it'll highlight, like imagine taking a highlighter and highlighting words on a page that stand out, highlights evidence. So your thermostat will highlight the evidence that confirms your existing identity. So, for example, if you believe you're someone who is always struggling, your brain will work hard to find and highlight the proof that you're always struggling. Okay, and this is not because you're broken, but it's because your brain is very sophisticated and efficient. It's doing exactly what it was built to do. And so the only way to change the thermostat setting is that you have to change the identity that it's calibrated to, right? This is why manifestation work is not just mindset, it's nervous system. It's working with your core beliefs about yourself, who you are, how you're showing up, how you perceive yourself, how do others perceive you, and getting super clear to come into alignment with the future version of you that you're calling in now. But more on that later, right? Because first, let's make this a little Kabbalistic, because really Kabbalah has known this stuff for centuries. Kabbalists just use different language than modern day psychology. And so the Kabbalists taught the idea of Tselem Elokim, which means being created B'Tselem, in the image of God. We are created in the image of God. And that doesn't mean that we look like God, but it's about having the same capacity as the divine, which means the capacity to create, the capacity to bring into being something that did not previously exist. And, here's the piece that really just like gets to me every time I really sit with it, is that, where is the primary place that creation happens? Like the primary place creation happens, it's inside of you. You are not meant to be a passive receiver of a life that happens to you. You are a creative being with a neshama, with a soul, and you have the power to reshape your inner world. And by reshaping your inner world, something gets reorganized internally, and there is a law, a spiritual law, as within, so without. When you reorganize within, your outer world begins to organize itself to come into alignment with what you've just shifted internally. The Alter Rebbe, he was the founder of Chabad Hasidus, he teaches that the work of the soul is literally called avodah, which means labor, effort, work, refinement, which means that the work of the soul is not about passively waiting for the thing to happen. And it's not just about asking God to make things happen, right? Avoda is the active, intentional reshaping of the self from the inside out. Hi, Ayelet here. I just wanted to pop in and say I am so excited to officially introduce the Manifestation Method portal, membership, and app. This is your home for all things Kabbalistic manifestation. You'll get access to my monthly live workshops, soul deep hypno activations and attunements, all of our manifestation courses, and our global community of manifestors. And the best part? It's just $26 a month. That's less than a latte a week. Come manifest alongside me and start creating the life you desire and deserve. Head over to ayeletpolonsky.com to join us. And so when you work on your identity, when you dare to say, I am becoming someone who is abundant, who is loved, who is healthy, who is this actualized version of myself, by doing this, you're not doing something that's delusional. You are doing something that is profoundly spiritually aligned with what you are meant to be doing in this lifetime. You are participating in the act of creation. And not just any act of creation, the act of your creation, of self-actualizing, of coming into deeper alignment with what your soul was here to create and do. Okay? And then there's also the concept, and this is one of my favorites, and if you've been in any of my communities for a significant amount of time, you've probably heard me talk about the concept of na'aseh v'nishma. Okay, and na'aseh v'nishma. So when Bnei Israel, when the Jewish people stood at Sinai and received the cosmic blueprint we call the Torah, right? They said something that blew the minds of the angels wide open, right? Na'aseh v'nishma. We will do and we will hear and understand. We will do and we will understand. Do first, understand later. That's the key. Do first, understand later. Not let me understand it fully. Let me feel completely ready. Let me wait until my mindset is perfect. Let me wait until all the circumstances are aligned, or let me make sure that I fully believe before I act on it. No, we will do first. Right? And so here's the manifestation teaching hiding inside this very ancient text. You do not need to fully believe your new identity before you begin living it, right? You do not need to fully believe your new identity before you begin living it. You act from the new identity first, and then the belief, the evidence, the embodied knowing, that comes after the action gets taken. And we see this today. Modern psychology is catching up to what our ancestors knew. They call this behavioral activation. Behavioral activation. It's the idea that action precedes motivation, not the other way around. Right? What have we been told our whole lives? We've been told to wait until we feel ready. But readiness is almost never a precondition. It's almost always a result. Right? And so the Israelites didn't wait to feel spiritually prepared for Matan Torah, for the giving of the Torah. They showed up at the mountain and they declared, Na'aseh v'nishma. I will do and then I will understand. And that's when the transformation happened. Okay, and so, I just want to pause here for a second to make sure that we're not just turning this into something purely intellectual, because obviously we can sit here and talk about the thing and think about a new identity all day long, and you can repeat affirmations in the mirror until you're blue in the face, but if your body is still living the old story, it won't stick. If the nervous system really truly is the bridge between the inner and outer world. When we've lived with a particular identity for years, whether it's the identity of I'm not enough, or more money, more problems, or money is hard for me, or love always leaves me, right? That belief doesn't just live in your thoughts on a superficial level. It literally lives in your body. It lives in our posture. It lives in the breath. It lives in our gut. It lives in our chest. It has a felt sense. And even heart math research has shown that the electromagnetic field of the heart is significantly larger and more powerful than the electromagnetic field of the brain. And so that means our emotional state, our felt inner reality, communicates with the energetic field around us in ways that actually influence what we attract and manifest in our lives. Okay, and so this is what we in the spiritual world would call energy. And it is real, it is measurable, it's a psychological phenomenon. It is not just woo-woo, right? Science is catching up to spirituality. Thank the good Lord. And so when we talk about an identity shift, I'm not just talking about changing your thoughts, right? I'm talking about changing the felt sense of who you are. Who do you feel yourself to be? Right? How does your body hold you? What is the emotional signature you live in daily? This is why the work that I do with my community inside the Manifestation Method membership goes so much deeper than positive affirmations, right? We do breath work and hypnosis and somatic practices and visualizations and neural rewiring. And really, it's feeling your way into a new identity, not just thinking your way there. The truth is the soul speaks in sensation, and your nervous system needs to experience the new you emotionally, energetically. It's not just about conceptualizing it in your mind. That's just one piece of a much larger pie. So much. There's so much to talk about here. But let me close the body of this episode. Maybe there will be a part 2. We'll see, because I really kind of want to go more into the meat and potatoes of how we do this. But I guess you can also just check out the membership if you want to dive deeper. But I want to close with something that I think is so important and so rarely talked about in manifestation spaces. So before I end, I want to touch on the idea I call the grief of becoming. The grief of your becoming. When you decide to shift your identity, when you say, I am no longer going to be someone who operates from scarcity or smallness or self-doubt, you're not just adding something new, you are releasing something old. And that old identity, even if it was painful, it was yours. It was your identity. It was familiar. It was safe. It knew all the rules of your life. It knew how you operated. It knew how you woke up in the morning from the minute you woke up till the minute you went to bed. It knew what to expect. And Carl Jung said that the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Because full self-acceptance means being willing to see all of who you are, including the parts that are holding you back, and then being willing to let them go, right? And so in Kabbalistic language, this is literally the process of releasing the old self, and because the old self is connected to the concept of Mitzrayim, of Egypt, the place of constriction and narrowness, right? And so we know that the word itself comes from the root of the word Meitzar, which means a narrow place, right? And so the exodus from Egypt is not just a historical event. It's a psychological and spiritual archetype that relates in such a real way to us in our lives today. It's quite literally the journey of every soul. Every soul must take this journey out of its own personal narrow place, its own limited identity, into a much more expansive and free landscape, right? And so for the Israelites, what did that journey require? It required us leaving behind everything that we knew. It required us leaving behind the familiarity of slavery and the predictability of suffering, right? It required us to leave behind the known, even when the known was terrible, right? What's that? The line says, a person will more quickly choose a familiar hell over an unfamiliar heaven. I mean, how much of the human condition how much do we relate to this human condition, right? But it's time to like put that story down, because that's the real cost of identity transformation. You have to be willing to grieve the old you, to honor what it protected you from, and to say thank you, thank you, thank you, and then let it go. Right? So if your transformation journey has felt like loss, or if you felt disoriented or unsettled, or a little like you just don't know who you are anymore, you walk into a space and you're like, what am I even doing here? Right? That's not a breakdown. That is actually the most natural, sacred human experience of becoming. And yes, it can be terrifying, but no, you're not falling apart. And if it feels like you're falling apart, it's because something sometimes needs to fall apart in order for something more aligned to get put back together. So what you're actually doing is you're falling into alignment. Okay. So good. All right. Well, I hope this episode cracked open something for you, or maybe at least gave language to something that you've been feeling but could not quite articulate. And again, the deepest work of manifestation is not just about techniques. It's not just about the method. It's about you. It's about who you are becoming. It's about the courage it takes to let go of the version of yourself that was built for survival, and to step into the version of you that was built for expansion. Because if you're listening to this podcast to begin with, my assumption is you're one of those people who were built for expansion. Otherwise, you would not even be gravitating towards this material, right? And so if you're actually ready to go deeper, way deeper than anything that I can fit into a bite-sized podcast episode, then please, I personally invite you into the Manifestation Method membership. You get access to content that really, truly doesn't exist anywhere else on the internet. I take all the stuff that you get and see on Instagram, on the podcast, and I go much, much, much deeper. I'm talking guided meditations, hypno activations, somatic rituals, Kabbalistic frameworks, courses, lives with me every month, right? A community of soulful individuals who are doing this real work and are cheering you on. We're not just talking about it, we're embodying it inside the community. Okay, and so every month I go deep into a new theme. I show up for you in a way that is super intimate, layered, and I answer your questions right there in the live inside the membership. So I hope that you'll join me there and actually live this material, because that's how you actually start to see your life begin to take quick and massive transformation in the direction of your soul's deepest longings. So you could find the link to the membership in the show notes, or just head to Instagram, check out the link in my bio. And before you go, if this episode was meaningful to you, then please, it really helps the algorithm and is like the biggest compliment you can give me. Take 30 seconds to leave a rating, leave a review on whatever platform you're listening on. It really just genuinely helps this whole podcast reach more people who need these types of messages. So if you have a friend who's in a season of transformation, who is doing the work and needing a little support and inspiration, please share this episode with them. Be the person who sends the thing that lands at exactly the right moment. You know what that feels like to receive. Please be that for someone else and for me. Thank you. I love you. See you in the next episode. Here's to your rising. Enjoyed this episode, let's keep the conversation going inside the Manifestation Method portal app, your #1 destination for Kabbalistic manifestation. Inside, you'll unlock the secrets of manifestation through my proven Abra method, rooted in Kabbalah, psychology, and quantum physics, designed to help you manifest real, tangible results from the inside out. Join our global community of manifestors, explore our signature courses, monthly live manifestation workshops with me, Ayelet, and access our transformational hypno activations and attunements to rewire limiting beliefs and align with your soul's purpose. The app is available now on the Apple App Store and Google Play. To sign up, head over to ayeletpolonsky.com. Becoming a co-creator with the Creator is your birthright. Let's manifest the life you desire and deserve together.